Hey family, welcome back to the match with us. I have Coach Mauro here helping me out today again. We're gonna go over the details on the armbar pinning position, which is when you have everything set and it's now just a matter of creating the proper pressure to break the arm or just get the tap. And we're gonna take our time. We're gonna show you a couple of different angles, try to cover everything there is to cover. As a side note, something that I want you to think about your own game here for a second. First of all, do you attack armbars? And if you don't, that must change. You must start immediately. Now, a little bit farther down the line, are you actually finishing the armbars, right? That needs to happen in your game. And then finally, and where I want to get to, when you get the tap, is it a rush? Is it that you're putting a lot of pressure on the arm really fast, Or is it that you're controlling your partner so well that you literally can feel that tension building in the arm to the point that you know exactly when they're gonna tap, which again, I think is where we all need to be. And the armbar is a very fast moving motion. So sometimes we don't think about all this control. So hopefully today, this helps you a little bit visualize yourself better and find where the space is in order to make your move a little bit better, okay? So Coach Mauro, help me out. Let's start here in the first position and let's go a little bit visual. So pretend with me for a second that I am in that armbar pinning position, right? Actually, so this is the armbar pinning position, right? Literally, he cannot move his body in any other way to stop me from tapping him in the next move. Just like chess, right? He's in check. So if I was there, what's happening, what's involved? Well, I first of all need to pin his body down, and I do that with my legs. We will talk about that. But I need to deal with his shoulder mobility. His shoulder moves up, moves down towards his hips, moves down towards the ground, moves up. And anytime he moves up, it makes the armbar a little bit tougher to get. Then I also got to think about his elbow mobility. That's kind of easy, right? That kind of goes up and down, except if he also twists his wrist. Right? So I am considering elbow mobility, wrist mobility, and my ability to put my hips here under. So the leverage is so great that as I push down on his wrist, his arm starts hyperextending. And Coach Mauro, bring your head up. Bring your head up, keep bringing the head up, keep coming up, keep coming up. He relieves all the pressure, right? He's not in danger, he'll take my back. But if there was, and you're pretending with me, there's a leg over his head and he cannot come up, he's gonna end up tapping, right? So, shoulder mobility, what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about how close we sit our hips to his shoulder. I want his shoulder to have no way to come down into me, because the moment he has a way to come down towards the mat, then the elbow will follow, and now we're in this position. A lot of people will say, yeah, I got an armbar. I cannot get the elbow in the position, I cannot get an armbar, and this is super dangerous. Why? The elbow is the one pose my partner needs to turn on his side completely and start getting on top of me. And if I don't know what to do, get on top and even pass my guard. Anytime we're taking an armbar, we're thinking about that. How do we prevent that? Well, number one, we scoot the hips so close that there is no room for that shoulder to come down. Now, my partner could still hip escape a little bit that way because there is some room, and now find the same space. So my legs, what are my legs doing? My legs are constantly cleaning that far side, pulling him into me. We cannot have an armbar that's like this. Too many different ways to defend it. We gotta have those heels coming in. Now, let's do something, Coach Mauro. Let's start moving a little bit this way. Now let's talk about the legs and the arrangement of the legs, right? What is the most important job my leg that's closer to his head has? Is to keep him down. I can be doing everything perfect on the armbar, and in the exact same example, Mauro starts bringing his head off the mat, and the pressure gets relieved, and he'll get on top of me. No one's gonna do an armbar like that, right? But sometimes we do it like this. Easy for him to get his hand on my heel, start lifting the leg, and it's the exact same issue. So I gotta prevent that, and I have several ways. I can lock my feet. We'll talk that about in a minute. But probably the best is to drive that heel in into the neck as you drive your hip in. And this is pinching it in a very uncomfortable way in order for him to come up. But there is no space for him to get his hand in there like he wanted before. And in the event that he is that strong that he starts coming up off the mat, then what I do is I both kick the heel down again, but I also open my knee into the face, and that will have him coming back down. Now, this leg, it's controlling his body, preventing a little bit of a turn here and there. As an example, when I don't have my leg, and this is a leg arrangement that we get sometimes when we're attacking from like side position, that far side armbar, we land here, we don't have control of the thumb, and my partner uses this freedom to turn his legs and walk his hips and do that hitchhiker escape and get on top of me. So I do lose that in that situation, right? So I gotta understand what I'm trying to do. This leg gives me this control. It is totally okay if you feel comfortable locking your feet. It is totally okay. Just consider that when you lock, and the lock is good because it takes away the grip over here, it takes away the elbow lifting over here, but when you lock, you gotta make sure that you don't do this little mistake, which is locking your leg that's over the head, over the lock. Because notice, to achieve that, first of all, I don't have pressure on the face like I did anymore. So he can turn into me, he can turn away from me, he can start moving his face. Too bad. I need to bring that leg always on the bottom of the lock so it reinforces that pressure that I'm putting down, and it opens my knee into his face. Now, as far as the wrist position, we always want to keep that thumb pointing up as we sit back, right? And then finally, come over here, Cosmauta. We're gonna do one last one, right? We still have a good shot. So now we talked about the legs. We talked about pinching the knees. We talked about keeping those hips close to the shoulder. We talked about now separating the arm away from the body is what's gonna allow you to get the armbar. Sometimes we get this grip and we start pulling just on the elbow joint, and getting some traction, but not getting, this is what's pulling the shoulder away from the body. What we want is always to go get that wrist and have it separated from the body completely. Now I'm in a really good pinning position. He cannot move. He cannot take my leg off the face. He cannot take my leg off the body. Because I'm pinching my knees and driving my hips up a little bit and into him, he can't move his shoulder. His elbow reach full mobility. I can feel this tension building. He cannot turn the thumb to relieve pressure. So now it's a matter of finishing. And how do I finish? I pull my belly button in to engage the core. I drive off the heels of the mat and I lift my hips. What could help is, instead of looking at the hand, which is supposed to go nowhere, you can also put the back of the head on the mat and elevate those hips and put tons of pressure. One last really cool thing to consider is sometimes we get in these battles and my partner is so strong, has such a great grip, that I don't seem to be making progress separating the hand away from the body. And we always gotta think like if we were playing chess, what's the best move available? There's tons of options, but what is the best move available? With this kind of room, anytime you can kick your leg that's controlling the body through in between the elbows, now we go back to our formula. I have an arm in and an arm out, which means if I pull, I'm gonna let him have it. Now he wants to hug me forever, I don't care. I'm gonna pull his head off the mat. I said, right? The head and an arm, he's in a triangle. I can simply create a couple of adjustments, a little bit of keeping, a little bit of hip escaping, using my leg on the outside for a triangle. And this is gnarly, not a regular triangle, kind of like a side. Notice how my calf is just gonna wedge in into the neck. And then on this side is gonna be my hips coming up. I can pull the head. And on top of that, if he happened to let go to try to defend, now there's a gnarly Americana, there's a gnarly armbar, and eventually a gnarly Kimura here if we needed to. Let's do that one from this angle before we leave. Just like this. So notice I'm in a traditional armbar pinning position, doing everything that we talked about. Maybe the one thing to mention is, what am I doing with my hands? If I grab with the arm that's closer to the legs, then I get some advantages as far as dealing with his head. If I grab with the arm that's closer to the head, I deal with the advantages of having this arm to grab the leg. They're both good. Now, I deal into someone or run into someone who has such a great grip, I cannot break the hand away from the body, but he does leave a lot of room. Notice that secondary leg can kick through, and notice where it goes. And first, I can even take this leg off. Because now as he tries to come up, this is the leg, come up. This is the leg that if I keep down, he won't go. But I want him to come up. If he comes up, he gives me the room to now deal with this triangle that I don't just try to lock. It'll be really tough to lock here. What do? I get my knee higher than his neck. And then I hip escape, pulling him into me. Now look at all the room that I got to lock. Look at that, huh? This is a beautiful jiu-jitsu position. I could be pulling the head. I'm trying to give you a better angle here. This is armbar still in so much danger. And now you can get like Americana. You can get wrist locks. Just bad news. Thank you, Coach Mauro. Coach Mauro is the best. Let me do all of this on here, huh? A little bit longer video that we usually do. A little bit different style just because notice it's not one motion, it's more of concepts and ideas and little details that by themselves might not seem like much, but when you are thinking about all of this and doing all of this perfect, your armbar feels completely different than anyone else, and just that's something to strive for. You don't have to be good at everything in jiu-jitsu, that's quite difficult to do, but you have to be good at armbars, you have to be getting them during training, you have to be getting them with control. And then finally, the last test is you gotta be able to teach them to further along our sport, okay? Miss you guys tons, hope everything is good. See you guys soon.